Hi, I'm Carlotta Mast, Editorial Director of Nutrition Business Journal and Editor-in-Chief of NewHope360.com. And I'm here today with Len Monheit, who is Executive Director of New Hope Supply Network, and Hank Schultz, who is Managing Editor of Functional Ingredients and NPICenter. And we're here today to talk about an issue that seems to be of growing concern in the U.S. dietary supplement industry, the impending release of FDA's guidance on new dietary ingredients for supplements. And I'm just wondering, Len, can you talk a little bit about what this guidance is and why it's causing so much concern in the industry?
Okay, well, I guess the background goes back to 1994, which was the year of the passage of DSHEA. And the understanding and the accepted kind of doctrine was that anything that was commercially in the market prior to the passage of DSHEA was considered to be a safe ingredient, and that anything else would constitute a new dietary ingredient, and therefore a submission to the FDA of a new dietary ingredient application would be required. Since that time, there's been an evolving interpretation of what constitutes a successful NDI submission, and a lot of companies are treating the process as a big black box and not really knowing exactly what's expected for them to submit. And most of the current NDI submissions are being rejected. Industry passage rates are very, very low.
Well, that's what I've heard, and I've also heard it's such a problem, and I know, Hank, you reported on this in Functional Ingredients, is what is a grandfathered ingredient? I mean, how do we know that today, what was on the market in 1994?
Well, it is hard to know, and one of the reasons why it's hard to know is because there is no officially accepted list right now of what the grandfathered ingredients are. There is some data out there about what was on the market in 1994, but after DSHEA was passed and FDA more or less sat on its hands and never generated this list, the world changed and documents went from paper to floppy disks to digital storage, and records were lost along the way. So it's very difficult to figure out exactly what was on the market in 1994, and then also to figure that into what might be interpreted as a new ingredient, even if, for instance, echinacea was on the market in 1994, but now you're extracting it differently than you used to.
And I'd like to speak to that a little bit. I mean, the processes have changed dramatically over the course of the last 16 years. What was a typical ethanolic extraction as the common means of extraction, in some cases may be replaced by a current technology such as supercritical fluid extraction. Now, what you extract out from a fingerprinting standpoint, the entities within that botanical extract is very different from what was on the market then, and the traceability and how that process has evolved over the course of 16 years has probably, for the most part, been lost.
Mm-hmm. Well, what's so interesting, and also I understand, I wasn't at the CRN conference, but I know you were, and that for the first time we really heard kind of a different tone coming from Joshua Sharfstein and FDA in terms of working with industry on this guidance to make sure that it's a two-way conversation. And what is your take on that, and what might that mean?
Well, industry has been waiting for this guidance. It's been promised by FDA for a long time. For a long time, we thought it was going to happen in 2010. We now know that it's not going to be 2010, it's going to be 2011. And we've been fearing the worst because we typically have an adversarial relationship in many respects with FDA. What was clear from this presentation by Dr. Sharfstein was that this is a dialogue. This is a starting point to an interpretation of the NDI process. Under guidance, they could have made that current thinking, basically started enforcing that current thinking. We've got now an indication that that's not going to be the case, that this will be a back and forth process between industry and the FDA. So that's actually a very significant change.
So if I'm the CEO of a supplement company or an ingredient company, what should I be doing to prepare to work with FDA?
Well, first of all, 16 years have passed. Records are being destroyed on an ongoing basis. I would stop the destruction process on anything that may be contentious. So I would make that the rule for my organization. I'd also focus on any toxicology support that you may have been gathering on your ingredients over the course of the last 16 years, whether you've used the submission process or not. And I guess I would focus on what your AERs are tracking right now. If I'm an ingredient company, I would then go to my manufacturing base and find out what their AER process is. Maybe what we can actually propose as industry is a short track process where we've got some good safety data. I know that Steve Mister blogged recently on NPICenter and talked about maybe we should really make the grandfather date 2008, which is the date of the AER legislation. I don't know that that necessarily will fly, but maybe it will be an argument for a short track NDI process that will handle the upcoming backlog.
Well, it definitely sounds like this is an issue that all dietary supplement companies need to be on top of and be paying attention to, because it's going to affect, it sounds like it could affect a lot of ingredients. So I thank you for the information. I think it's valuable for the industry.
Well, and I just want to make one more comment, and that's that the American Herbal Products Association and NPICenter for the last several years have been platforming an NDI database that gives a record of all the NDI submissions and uniquely also organizes them by an outcome code. So it's actually a subscription-based database that is available from both NPICenter and the American Herbal Products Association.
Well, that sounds like an important resource. Thanks.
Thank you.